Good morning. Today I want to talk about what culture is. Now, my understanding of culture as I was growing up was what religious beliefs you had. That was your culture. But obviously, through my training as a hypnotherapist, I've looked at it from a much wider angle. So, culture is actually your beliefs, the way you've been brought up, your environment, and how you perceive the world and the way you feel you should behave, you should act, and you should feel. And culture is quite limiting. You know, when we were brought up with certain beliefs as a child, we can carry them through as adults when they no longer serve us. And I see this all the time in my practice, especially with people or young women that have been brought up in an environment where women are second class citizens, where women are treated, some of them as badly as dogs, although I know a lot of people treat their dogs amazingly, but some women in their cultural upbringing, which is not necessarily religion, it's just their family upbringing, have been treated as if they're just an asset or not an asset. They've been, abused. They've been not allowed to have a voice, not allowed to make any decisions in their lives. But I'm finding this doesn't only happen to women. A lot of the wonderful men that I see have been brought up in a culture where they were physically abused by a parent or both parents, where they had lost their power and were unable to tell anybody what their needs were or have their needs met. And the trouble with this is, as they grow and they have children of their own, they know inwardly they don't want to be the same. They know that they want to be a loving parent, that they want to nurture their children and give them the best. But because their upbringing and the only way they know how to parent is from their own parenting, then quite often the cycle can continue. And I'm repeatedly amazed and really proud of my clients that stop that cycle. And I'm seeing this on a regular basis. Clients that come to me not understanding why there's almost a fight within their head to behave like their parents, but they don't want to, or follow a cultural tradition that's always been in their family when it doesn't feel right. And so once we look at that and say, well, just because this person believes that that's the right way, it doesn't mean you have to, then it just frees them. They don't feel that they're doing something wrong by not following something that they don't believe in. And so it's really important that you have a look at your traditions, family traditions, if you want to call it that, might be a bit easier, and see if they're fitting for today's society, because things change. And we now realize that, constantly punishing your children isn't the way to go. We need to nurture them, we need to encourage them, we need to teach them and protect them. And as my colleague and friend Steve Large has put a Facebook Live, which I've actually posted on my page, is saying with the men, this culture that they have, what they're watching in the movies, is that they have to be fighting, they have to be aggressive in their protection of their family and also in their relationships. So, they maybe cheat around a bit, or they're really aggressive in the bedroom, and it's sort of showing them that this is the way that men are supposed to be. And yet the men that I see and know and love are the ones that are nurturing and caring. They don't want to be violent. They want to be able to protect their family. They want to be able to love their family, but without violence. And maybe in the past, a lot of my clients have had violent upbringings. And so seeing this in the movies and the media and all the video games, they get very confused that deep down this isn't how they want to be, but a man should behave this way. So again, it's traditions and cultural beliefs that you need to start questioning. And that's all you need to do to actually open the gates, as to think, does this fit me? It may have been right for my parents, it may have been right for my upbringing at the time, but Is it right for me now? So another friend, and not a colleague that I know personally, but I follow a lot of, is Vishan Lakhani at Mind Valley, and he's got this wonderful saying where he says it's a brule, which means it's a bullshit rule. So things that are rules from your traditions or cultures that are actually rubbish. I remember one that I hear a lot of with my clients with if you don't eat all your dinner as a child, you're told children in Africa are starving, so you should eat all your dinner. Well, to me that's a brawl, because what are you going to do? Let the starving children know in Africa, hey, I've eaten all my dinner, so you should feel really good. Crazy. But these are some of the traditions and beliefs and rules that we're living with that make no sense at all. So start having a look at some of those. In your life, I'm sure you'll find many, especially in employment, in schooling. I remember at school, we weren't allowed to wear necklaces, and I could understand the health and safety side of it, but we had to wear ties when I was at school. So we had a collar and a tie, and your necklace was underneath it. And if you played sport, you still had one of those polo shirts and it was done up. So, it's not if someone could grab your necklace and strangle you. But, I think it was more of a tradition that you couldn't wear necklaces. And I remember when my daughter went to school in New Zealand, and she had a locket that had a picture of my mum and dad in, which was very, very special to her, and she was quite shy, so having this on her just gave her a bit more confidence. And one of the teachers said that she had to take it off, and she was extremely upset, and he said, if you don't take it off, I'm going to take it off of you. And I remember speaking to this teacher and asking him that if there was another culture was wearing it and it was a traditional belief that it was a form of protection, would he have said the same? And he said no. So as I said, that's a bullshit rule. You can't apply that to one cultural belief and not the other. If it's a health and safety issue, I can understand it, but you actually have to look at how it affects that person as an individual. And so you need to fit your beliefs and your needs and your desires as you as an individual, not as a group of people, because we're not the same. We don't need to believe the same. We need to follow the rules and beliefs and cultures in society that make us feel good, that make us feel safe. And so that includes women, being in relationships where they don't feel safe. And I know in some cultures they have to marry people that they've never met, and they just have to abide by the rules. And to me, that's crazy. But then I guess it's not my culture or religion, but I believe that everybody should have freedom of speech without deliberately insulting anyone else. I don't agree with that. Putting other people down, I don't agree with that. But freedom to say how they feel, what their needs are, how they need to have their desires, safety and needs met. You should be able to ask for that. You should be able to have people around you that will support you with that. And I think one of the sayings that comes around again and again, and again, this is just a tradition or a belief, is treat others the way you'd like to be treated yourself. I don't think you can go far wrong with that. If you treat others kindly and lovingly and supportingly, and that's the way you would like to be treated, then you can't go far wrong. And yes, I know there's people out there that are difficult, aggressive, and you just walk away from them. Just don't have anything to do with them. They're on a different pathway than you. They just don't fit your needs and desires, so time to cut the ties. But again, start looking at your inner beliefs, your traditions, almost like the brainwashing you've had throughout your life, and start questioning. Because when you start questioning, you can actually look at it to see if it serves you anymore. And a lot of the time it doesn't. Because what served you as a 7 to 14-year-old might not serve you now. And most of the time it doesn't. You see, as a child, you were powerless. You had every decision made for you: when to get up, when to go to bed, what time to go to school, what to eat, what to wear. See, as a child, you didn't have that power. But as an adult, you do. You have choices. And so things are different. You have independence. You can get in a car or on a bus, or you can go out. You can just say, I'm not accepting that. Whereas a child, you just had to do as you were told in a lot of cultures. So it's getting older and wiser and realizing that we can change those beliefs. We are free. We are able to make those choices. And many of the people I see in workplaces that they feel they're stuck, they're trapped, they want to get out, they feel that they have no choice, but we always have a choice. And yes, obviously, financially, you can't just walk out of a job and suddenly not have any money coming in, but you can start to study something else. You can start to look into what else you could do. You can start believing in yourself that you can do something different. You don't have to put up with those BRULES. You don't have to put up with being treated like a doormat. It's just not right. And so the more you learn and understand that maybe the person that's treating you badly has some cultural BRULES, beliefs around them that they're believing, and maybe they just need educating, and you could say, well, I don't believe that that's the way you should be managing, and they're not going to like it, but you have a right to say how you feel, and you have a right to walk away. And so start thinking, start analysing, start really delving into what those subconscious beliefs are that are sabotaging you and stopping you from living the life of your dreams. Because that's all it is. It's that automated program running in the background, that little voice on your shoulder saying, oh, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, and you can't do that, and you'll never be able to do that. That's BRULES. It's rubbish. You can do what you want to do. If you learn, you can do it. And it may take a few years, but if you study everything, at least maybe if you study things for 2 hours a day over 5 years, you become an expert. And so you'll be able to do those things that you want to do, but not until you start to look at what's holding you back. So hopefully that's given you some insight into what culture is and how it can be affecting you and stopping you from moving forward. I look forward to seeing you next week.